So just a quick video today. I left off on a video showing how the thinking mind can influence our emotions and how it's even deeper than that. And I went to the whole story of being cold. And for so many of us, that just seems so obvious. Like cold is just cold. It's a basic sensation and it's not influenced by the thinking mind. But I wanted to go that deep to show you that if our thinking mind can influence something as basic as how cold it is, well, then it obviously can influence our emotions and the more subtleties of perception. So I wanted to share the old Zen story, and you might be familiar with it. I'm going to give a kind of different take on it. So there's an old Zen story about a guy walking through the jungle and he's being chased down by a tiger and he finds a vine and it's really his only escape, so he climbs down the side of a cliff and to escape the tiger. Then he looks down and notices that there's another tiger, so he can't just drop down to the next level. And then he also notices that the only thing supporting him now is this vine, and he notices that there are two mice and they're chewing away at the vine slowly. So it looks pretty, you know, doesn't look real positive for this particular person. He happens to look over and notice a strawberry. And he picks a strawberry, and it was by far the most amazing strawberry he's ever eaten. Okay, so what's the moral of the story? Well, most Zen interpretations are talking about maybe the first tiger is, the past, and the other tiger is the future. We're caught between the past and the future. And the two mice are kind of the tick tock of time, kind of eating away at this existence. And, the um, quality of his consciousness at that moment. The reason the strawberry tasted so good was because he was in the present moment. He was actually there to enjoy it. And it's pretty much a standard interpretation, but I'd like to offer a little bit. So it's probably consistent with this, but a little bit more focused on the thinking mind. Because, of course, it's the thinking mind that brings the past and the future into existence. And so, in a way, what gets trapped here is the thinking mind. But it also shows how contextual our experiences are. And so much of that context is actually influenced by the thinking mind. And so the reason that strawberry tasted so amazing is because the way it was packaged. And the thinking mind has a lot to say about how things are packaged. We know people who, there have been some studies of things like, is $100 bottle of wine taste any better than a $5 bottle? It turns out actually, if you eliminate the influence of the thinking mind, which is to say you've paid $100 and it's got a fancy label, and you eliminate all those preconceptions from the thinking mind, actually, and just get it down to raw sensations, actually they all pretty much taste the same. And I guess there are a couple exceptions if you get real extravagant, but within a certain boundaries. The same thing with the cold. If you get too cold, of course, the influence of the thinking mind becomes less obvious. So to me, the moral of the story, the interpretation of what's often called the strawberry and the tiger parable, is that the thinking mind has a huge influence, not just on our, obviously on our thoughts. I mean, that's what it is, but it also constrains and influences our emotions to a huge degree. But then everything else gets tied into that, even basic raw sensations, which for most people, they think that, the sensory world, that's why we use the term common sense, because it's just the way everyone experiences the world. It's uninfluenced by the processes of something like the thinking mind. But I think the story is a great reminder that the thinking mind actually does influence every aspect. It can influence every aspect of our existence, from thinking itself to emotions to basic sensations and perceptions. And when we become aware of that, then you say, okay, what does the world look like? What is it? What's the experience without it? Well, you may have had those moments. I remember one time I was sitting on the floor, my daughter and I were painting, and I actually took a drink of the paint water. So we were cleaning our brushes, and I took a drink of paint water, but my thinking mind had no expectation that it was paint water. And I remember experiencing it absolutely as it was. And it was an odd sensation. Like I just knew that, like, I mean, it didn't taste like paint water because paint water is a thought. And then I had the interpretive mind come in, and then that influenced. So in other words, the moment I put it, my thinking mind had put it all together. Oh, you just drank paint water. Then I had the experience that it was paint water, and I remember how different that was. So this idea that the thinking mind is not behind even the subtle experiences like simple perceptions and sensations, I think you can see for yourself how that's actually not the case, and that the thinking mind can filter down to very basic things. So, if going out in the cold is a little too much for you, uh, there's other ways you can play with this.